Allez, le départ de cette dernière épreuve de la journée sera donné d'ici 5 minutes et le départ sera donné, information importante, derrière le safety car, départ donné derrière la safety car pour cette course de Clio Cup qui sera emmenée par Gabriele Torelli et Alessandro Briatti sur la première ligne de cette grille de départ. Ils sont suivis par David Pouget sur le numéro 15 et Alexandre Finkelstein. Départ sous safety car, dans moins de 5 minutes maintenant, départ sous safety car. Et on rappelle, cette course sera 25 minutes plus un tour, 25 minutes plus un tour.
Welcome along then to Spa-Francorchamps, where the Renault Clio Cup Series is about to have its first of 2 races this weekend. Of course, 2 races of 25 minutes apiece around this 7-kilometre circuit, 25 minutes plus 1 lap. As you can see, the iconic Spa-Francorchamps layout in what is now the evening sunshine. We had our qualifying session around lunchtime today, and it was Gabriele Torelli who took the pole position alongside Alessandro Briatti, who was just a couple of tenths off of his time. A 2 minutes 47.462 was the absolute fastest time in qualifying from Gabriele Torelli. A few surprises in qualifying. Anthony Girardo only qualifying 10th fastest for Milan competition, and Milan competition's eponymous founder, Nicola Milan, is only 13th on the grid, 12th on the grid, my apologies. So there are a couple of surprise packages who are probably going to be working their way through the order, the likes of Florian Karuble as well, a driver who would expect to be in the top 10 normally, down in 15th position. Some surprise packages out of qualifying, and there you see a critical bulletin on your screen as well. Start behind safety car. That is because we are not going to have a standing start here. The first racing lap, the first green flag lap, will come off a single file start behind the safety car. So the clock will start when the safety car pulls away. Shouldn't lose too much time in the race because of that, but it's a precautionary measure, really, with 60 cars on the grid. Probably quite a wise precautionary measure as well, just to make sure that everyone comes out of this weekend with as much chance of having the car in one piece as possible. Of course, this is the latest stop on the Clio Cup Series calendar, and it's a stop for 4 of our championships. The Renault Clio Cup Europe, they are scoring points this weekend. So is France, Italy, and the Mid Championship as well. Gabriele Torelli and Alessandro Briatti on the front row. David Pouget and Alexandre Finkelstein on row 2. Then it's Thomas Picard and Alexandre Alboui on row 3 of the grid. Row 4, Aurélien René and Luca Franca on row 4. Anthony Girardo and Alex Lancelotti on row 5. Adrian Schimpf and Nicola Milan on row 6 of the grid. Then moving on to row 7, Jerzy Spinkovics and Pierre Bredeau on row 7. Florian Karuble on row 8 alongside Florian Venturi, Giacomo Trebbi and René Stimitz on row 9. Going into beyond the top 20, Julien Bazuret is alongside Mattia Lancelotti on row 10. Then it's Nikola Milikovic in 21st alongside Mariano Alonso, Simone De Luca and Andrea Stucchi rounding out the 24s, the first 12 rows of the grid. Then it's Stefan Polderman, Mikhail Kari, Guillaume Mayo is next alongside Hendrik Seibel, Leonardo Arduini and Jeremy Bordegaray rounding out our top 30. 31st is Federico De Nova alongside Lionel Vigier, Benjamin Calvas and Damiano Puccetti, 33rd and 34th. Christian Riccarini and Jacopo Simonez in 36th place. Then a couple more rows of the grid, Gianalberto Calbani in 37th there. And one driver I did want to mention who's just on 40th on the grid at the very towards the back of the grid. There in 40th place, the very, very experienced Fabien Julia, the Frenchman who's started racing at the age of 21 in a Lancia Delta, of all things. He has been racing for a long, long time, but never here at Spa. Quite a few drivers here taking their first pilgrimage of Spa-Francorchamps this weekend, even those who are vastly experienced. As you can see, the clock has gotten underway here, 25 minutes plus 1 lap, and the clock is now ticking. One would anticipate we'll have somewhere in the region of 21 minutes to go when this race gets started. It will be a single file start to this race under green flag conditions, but the clock already rolling here under safety car, and I'm sure that will be a popular move with some of the teams here, because of course La Source hairpin, so infamous for first corner incidents when using the F1 grid, and frankly I think the level of cars that we have here this weekend may exceed the level of grid slots as well. It's a huge entry list that we have here this weekend in the Renault Clio Cup series. But Gabriele Torelli will lead them away in the number 12. Torelli, such a fast driver, and has been pretty consistently up there in the Friday free practice sessions as well. It was actually a free practice session apiece for Torelli and Brigatti in the Friday running. One driver I did get to speak to shortly before they went out on the circuit was Thomas Pecard, who rates this as his second favourite circuit in the world. The top is the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Don't blame him for that, but in terms of the circuits on the Clio Cup calendar, Thomas Pecard rates this track, Spa-Francorchamps, as his favourite destination in our season. His young German teammate, also running their colours, has just passed his Nürburgring permit, actually, so will soon be able to go out into the world of NLS competition and things of that nature. Of course, that's the Carpec Racing team that Thomas Pecard is driving for. His teammate is Henrik Siebel. So safety car will be in this lap. As you can see, it is a truly massive line of cars that is running. We've got some of them still up at Le Combe, and the leaders are at Stavelot and towards Paul Frere Curve, so that should illustrate to you just how many cars we're dealing with. If you are tuning in, there is of course the main point scoring class, as well as the Challenger class, which is for younger drivers, drivers on the rise in Clio Cup, and the Racer class, which is more for those who are more gentleman driver inclines. So our first of the Racer class drivers is Luca Franca, who qualified a very impressive 8th place. Alex Lanciolotti 10th in this queue. Also a Racer class driver, the first of the Challengers, meanwhile, the 105 car, Alessandro Brigatti. So then the safety car has made its way into pit entrance, and that means we are about to go racing. Gabriele Torelli leading the queue as they come out of the final corner, and now they're up to racing speeds. With 21 minutes and 18 seconds of the race left to go, plus 1 lap, we begin racing in earnest. Now, just because they're single file now, I somehow doubt that will still be the case by the time they get to the Kemmel Straight, the long run up from Eau Rouge Radion up to the Le Combe bends. The field makes its way through La Source then and downhill towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and already Brigatti making his intentions clear on the run up the hill for the first time. You don't gain a true appreciation for just how steep that hill is until you walk it. Brigatti there running wide, coming out of Radion. They head through the kink, and then it's the Kemmel Straight that awaits, and a huge opportunity to slipstream, of course, in these saloon or these hatchback cars. You see there the 29 of Finkel's, actually it's 24 of René, Aurélien René, looking to the inside at Le Combe, but retaining the lead is Gabriele Torelli as they run through Le Combe for the first time. Looks like there's been a bit of drama further back. Florian Carouble there cut across Le Combe. We see the orderly queue. I doubt it's going to remain orderly for the duration of this race, but for now, an orderly queue. Looks like Nicolas Mêlant has maybe made up a couple of positions. He's up to 11th place from 12th on the grid. We see there the 84 car in battle as well. That is Lanciolotti, one of the two Lanciolottis, of course, Mattia Lanciolotti for Faro Racing, scoring points in both the European and Italian championships within the Challenger class. Our race leader, Torelli, in the number 12, is also scoring points in the European Championship as well as the Mid-Europe Championship. There's already some battling going on there, trying to go around the outside. Here's the number 4 of Julien Bazire, kicking up the dust and the grass there. And just about everybody made that through unscathed. The wing mirrors of these Clio Cup cars are the most expendable parts in the paddock anywhere. And oh, goodness me, just a bit wide there going through Paul Frey curve was the number 55 of René Stiemetz. The Dutchman there just having a wiggle, as is the 105 car, Brigatti, Alessandro Brigatti, with a good run out of Blanchimont. Just had to correct the car a little bit there as Nicolas Mêlant dives to the inside. That would be for 10th position on Alejandro Schimpf. A little bit of moving and shaking in the lower ends of the top 10. Florian Venturi there ahead of Carouble. Everyone else just trying to find their way through the bus stop chicane. An infamously tight part of the circuit, such a great braking zone after Blanchimont if you can set it up right for an overtake. Anthony Girardot there in the number 1, of course, that is our reigning champion, Anthony Girardot. He's up into 8th place, so he's made up 2 positions on this initial lap of the race. The field streak up the hill once again. Looks like a little bit of a slow run through Radillon there for the number 24 of Aurélien René. Anthony Girardot potentially in prime position to capitalise on that. He's in the slipstream, as is the 91 behind him of Luca Franca. Franca going defensive with Adrian Schimpf behind him. And it's side by side, and unfortunately for Luca Franca, he had to give way there to Adrian Schimpf. My apologies, not Alejandro Schimpf. The other Schimpf brother. A few brother and general family teams across this grid. Trying to go back around the outside is Luca Franca, but he can't quite get that done. Nicolas Mêlant sees his opportunity now, trying to go around the outside of the 91. We've got some more grass and gravel being kicked up. Nicolas Mêlant just about found the room he needed through no-name corner. Florian Carouble there, almost spinning in the back of shot. Just getting a wheel onto the gravel. It doesn't take much to trigger a spin. Nicolas Mêlant there went a little bit wider through corner exit at Pouhon, as the number 24 car looking to the inside. That's Aurélien René trying to find his way past the 25 of Alexandre Albouy. Getting a replay here. Oh, that's not the ideal place to have a moment. Oh, and I thought for a minute that the driver of the number 42 was going to avoid the barriers, but Mariano Alonso couldn't quite do it. And Alonso into the barriers. Now, are we going to get a safety car? For now, we've only got a yellow flag. It looked like that car might still be drivable, so perhaps he's managed to get it out of harm's way. The top 4 then as one, and it is Torelli from Brigatti, from Pouget, from Finkelstein, our top 4. David Pouget, who started his Clio season in less than satisfying circumstances within the French Championship at Nogaro, took the checkered flag first on both occasions, but post-race penalties in both races stripped him of the victory, or time penalties within both races, I should say. One of them was for track limit offences in race 1, and in race 2 it was for an incorrect positioning on the grid. Pouget with a good run there out of La Source. carry the momentum downhill towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and he's got a nose ahead. I think he may well have a car ahead of Alessandro Bugatti. Yes, he does. Well executed there by David Pouget, who moves his way up into second place. Alessandro Bugatti then has to now try and work his way back past. He's got the Kemmel straight to try and do it. Of course, he's also got to worry about Alexandra Finkelstein behind. Finkelstein and Bugatti are both running in the Challenger class, of course, so that's the Challenger class lead as well as third overall, and it looks as though it's a good run there for Finkelstein. He's got the inside of Bugatti as they go through Le Combe, side by side between the two of them, but I think Bugatti in the 105 is just about going to hold on. He pushes Finkelstein wide. Oh, and contact between the two of them, almost an inevitability there, and it's Bugatti who's got the short end of the stick, scattering gravel across the circuit every which way. He's managed to get the car back on the circuit, but he's ended up down in 8th place behind Aurélien René. Anthony Girardo keeping a watching brief on that situation. Nicola Milan has been swallowed up by the pack a little bit there. I think Luca Franca and Alex Lancelotti just around the periphery of the Castrol liveried car in the back of shot there. Nicola Milan, the Clio Maestro, not having the start to the weekend that he would like here on the Saturday. There's Lancelotti with the 558 of Pierre Prudhomme alongside him as we get a replay here of what happened between Bugatti and Finkelstein. Finkelstein left his nose there on the inside. Bugatti tried to squeeze Finkelstein out before they got to the final element of Le Combe and went downhill towards Bruxelles. Also sneaking through in all of that as well was Thomas Picard, who's now moved up to 3rd position. So Thomas Picard benefited from that immensely, gained 2 positions. 13 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. There's a bulletin on my timing screen that the safety car is on standby, and that's why the number 7 car of Michael Carré has found the barriers on the exit of No Name Corner, and the safety car has been deployed. Safety car on track then with 13 minutes of the race remaining. We were certainly reaching a premature crescendo in the race there. The safety car maybe bringing everyone back down to earth just a little bit at the mid-stage of the timing clock. Well, Gabriele Torelli continues to lead the way. We're getting a replay here of Bugatti going by Aurélien René. Meanwhile, someone else into the barriers in the back of shot. Couldn't quite make out a number on that car. But another one of our drivers in strife. There is Michael Carré's car. Good to see him out of the car, incidentally, after that collision, but Renault Clio's strewn around the circuit, so no surprise that the safety car has been called upon. Alejandro Schimpf has ended up in the pit lane. I think he has had an issue, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Gabriel Alonso in the number 63 GPA racing car that had the moment at the exit of Fagnes. We had 59 cars take the start in this race. We've still got 55 of them running at this stage, or 54 of them, I should say, running at this stage. So still enough to aptly fill pretty much any racing circuit in the world. I'm sure that for Gabriele Torelli, he is going to be less than impressed with the safety car, because he certainly didn't have a cushion as such, but he had control over the situation. He had David Pouget behind him, he had Thomas Picard, who just inherited 3rd position. All of the drama was going on behind Gabriele Torelli before the safety car came out. And once the safety car does come out and brings the rest of the pack back up to your rear bumper, it kind of leaves you liable as the race leader to have to go up against some increased action, let's say. We saw there the 84 car of Mattia Lancelotti. Lancelotti running 15th place and 7th within the Challenger class. The leader in the Racer class, incidentally, is still Luca Franca. Luca Franca in the 91 car, sitting 11th overall at the moment, and the second place car within the racer category is René Stiemetz. So René Stiemetz is down in 22nd place, so quite the advantage over the rest of the racer class for Luca Franca. That is in part because Alex Lanciolotti has gone missing out on circuit as well. Lanciolotti, of course, was up there in the early stages, just outside the top 10. He is also a racer class runner, but Alex Lanciolotti in the Faro Racing number 30 has fallen down the pack just a little bit. And there is the number 30 of Lanciolotti. So it was actually Lanciolotti who ended up in the barriers. I think Gabriel Alonso also got held up somewhere, but it was actually Alex Lanciolotti who had his moment at Fagnes. Field heading through Stabilo. As you can see, there's a lot of gravel down at that part of the circuit. There's also quite a bit of gravel, or there was quite a lot of gravel on the exit of Le Combe as well. So I reckon we'll have at least one more lap under safety car, and potentially race control will deploy some marshals with some brooms to try and eradicate at least a little bit of the gravel that has been spread onto the circuit. And we've got a bulletin on screen stating that the incident involving cars 105 and 30 under investigation after the race. And the 105 is Alessandro Bugatti, and the 30, of course, is the car that we just saw recovered out of the gravel in the hands of Alex Lanciolotti. So, incident involving those two cars under investigation. We are indeed going to have at least one more lap under safety car then, with 8 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Anthony Girardo will be looking to just try and scythe up a few more places before the end of this race once we go back to green flag conditions. He'd kind of fallen back from the top dozen or top half dozen at the time of the safety car. This brings him right back into that section, so that should be useful for him. One thing that you can't say about the Clio Cup is that there is a lack of colours on the liveries. A lot of series seem to default to red, white and black, but there's still a want to make your car stand out among many of the drivers in this category. I think the 158 car just going through shot there of Florian Venturi, that's a very smart-looking machine. But there are dozens of beautiful liveries up and down the grid in the Clio Cup. As we mentioned, 4 championships in play here, everything except the Spanish championship in terms of official Renault Clio Cup Series competition. So the French Championship, the Italian Championship, the Mid-European Championship, and of course the Clio Cup Europe, all registering points this weekend. Such an impressive grid of machines that we have this weekend. And the safety car is in this lap. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, some of these drivers are taking to the hallowed tarmac here in the Ardennes Forest for the first time. And certainly opportunities to race at this circuit are rarely turned down by racing drivers. There's something special about Spa. There's an X factor about this circuit. Over the years, many people have said, oh, well, There's tarmac runoff now, it's not the same, or this has changed, it's not the same, but no, no, no. The 7-kilometre configuration here at Spa is something unique and all of its own. And it's a pleasure to see racing here. I'm sure it's a pleasure to go racing here, and we are going to go racing here again in just a few moments' time. It will be Gabriele Torelli leading David Pouget with under 5 minutes left to go. Now, David Pouget, vastly, wildly experienced driver in Clio competition. It looks to me as if Torelli may have already pulled the pin. In fact, no, not quite, but he's certainly eager to do so. Of course, Pouget, formerly a runner-up in Clio Cup Europe in 2021, was third in the championship in 2022. Gabriele Torelli then gets the field rolling once more. And a good restart there from Torelli, well managed. Pouget is not going to have the opportunity to lunge into the first corner. Torelli, an experienced driver, a 5-time Italian champion across various disciplines. Some side-by-side action there further back between Adrian Schimpf and the Aurélien Renault car, the number 25. And it looks like Anthony Girardo is under a bit of pressure there. He's fallen back from Alexandre Albouy in 6th place, and he's now got Adrian Schimpf right on his bumper as they come out of Radillon. And this could be a big trouble for the driver of the number 1, for our defending champion. He's under a lot of pressure as they come up the Kemmel Straight. It's side-by-side for the lead as well, because here comes David Pouget on the outside. He's got a nose ahead. Can he stick it around the outside through the first element of the corner? No, he cannot. So lead will stay with David Pouget for the time being. Thomas Picard on the offensive as well, up against Finkelstein. Finkelstein making contact there for the second time, and the driver that he collided with last time in the form of Alessandro Bugatti has just gotten past him. So 4th place now for Alessandro Bugatti. The 24 car running very, very wide indeed there, Aurélien Renault, as everyone tries to pick their way through without any drama. Nicolas Milan has got himself up into the top 10 now. He's running in 10th place, just ahead of the 558 car of Pierre Brideau, who I believe has gotten past Luca Franca. Bugatti then just behind Thomas Picard for 3rd place. Nicolas Milan looking to the inside there of the number 91. That is Luca Franca. So Luca Franca's actually gotten up to 9th place. I thought he'd fallen down the order, but no, in fact, he's ascended up the pack very nicely indeed. He's trying to get up the inside there of the number 24 of Aurélien Renault, and well, I don't think he was intentionally leaving the door open, but the door was left askew. And not only has Luca Franca taken advantage, but so has Nicolas Milan, so has the Pierre Brideau in the 558, although they're now side by side. Aurélien Renault trying to scratch, claw and hold on any which way he can. It's 3 wide as they go towards Blanchimont. Around the outside there went the number 24 car, I believe that was. In fact, sorry, the 84 of Lanciolotti. Oh, what a big lock up there for Lanciolotti. Straight on goes Mattia Lanciolotti, has to cut the second element of the bus stop. Don't think he gained an advantage off of that. We've got a car bouncing through the gravel as well. Thankfully continuing on its way. Didn't quite catch a number on that car, but thankfully didn't collect anyone else and didn't get beached into the gravel. It is then Gabriele Torelli that leads. David Pouget, interestingly, was actually registered as our leader through the start-finish line, so I think Pouget may have had a nose ahead on the approach to La Source, but he didn't get the move done. So let's see if that changes now. Can David Pouget try and get around Torelli? He's got a nose ahead once again. He's trying to get the whole car ahead before they get to Le Camp, but it's not to be. Torelli continues to hold on to the lead. they've got to be wary of Thomas Picard. Picard is very, very experienced. He's a 3-time Central European Renault Clio champion. He's also a GT4 class winner at the Dubai 24 Hours. And look at Brigatti trying to get himself back into the podium classification. He's got to try and hold off Alexander Finkelstein, though, because they're fighting each other within the Challenger class. And Finkelstein has the inside line into Pouon, and sure enough, Brigatti was so busy trying to get past Thomas Picard that it left the door open for Alexander Finkelstein. These two have already made contact in this race, and now they're going at it once again. Up into 6th place as well has gone Anthony Gerardo, so he's found his way past Alexandre Alboui. The clock has hit 0, but we still have one more lap of racing before we can get a definitive order. Gabriele Torelli has once again built an advantage. He's got a few car lengths at the front of the order. Thomas Picard is still investigating his options to try and get past David Pouget, and it's side by side for 4th place. Alessandro Bugatti gets back through into 4th, and here comes the number 1, the defending European champion, Anthony Gerardo, trying to find his way now past Finkelstein. He's gotten his way past Finkelstein. Can he get past Alessandro Bugatti before they get to Blanchimont? Not quite. Just taps the brakes a little bit there for Anthony Gerardo to make sure the brakes are still underneath him as they run towards the bus stop. Is he going to try and make a move into the chicane? Torelli continues to lead it. Now watch the back of shot. Do we see a move for 4th place? I don't think. Move for 5th place. No, move for 4th place. I was right the first time. But actually, I think Gerardo has lost out there. Gerardo has lost out to Alessandro Bugatti, but both of them have ended up past Alexandra Finkelstein. So I think there was a moment we missed there at the chicane. Your order then is Torelli in the lead. Then it's Pouget, then it's Picard. Finkelstein in 4th position. Finkelstein is in 6th position behind Gerardo and Brigatti. My timing screen, I think, is frozen up here in the commentary box. So it's Torelli in the lead, but here comes David Pouget once again. Pouget gets no choice in the matter. If you're taking this lead, you're going to go around the outside, and that's exactly what he's done. This time, the momentum is in favour of David Pouget, who leads the way. Gabriele Torelli then drops down to 2nd place for the time being. In 3rd place, it's still Thomas Picard. He's got Brigatti all over the back of him, though. Meanwhile, the number 1 car of Gerardo is still there in 5th place. There is a move for 3rd position, though. Brigatti in the 105 car. Oh, he's just squeezing Thomas Picard. They miraculously both find room in that situation. The driver who is heading towards a victory in the Challenger class is back up into 3rd overall. He's had a great ding-dong scrap over the last few corners with Picard. Thomas Picard will want to try and investigate that overall podium possibility if he can. But the two leaders are heading towards the final section of the lap for the final time. And after leading the entire race, Gabriele Torelli is on the verge of missing out after a final lap move from David Pouget. Surely Pouget is going to be able to hold on, but Torelli is right there with him as they come out of the Paul Frere curve. Pouget, who certainly has a lot of experience in these Clios. He knows how to win these races. He left his powder dry until the final lap, and he's still got the lead as they approach Blanchimont for the final time. Will we see any last lap heroics from Gabriele Torelli as they run towards the final bend? Torelli looks to the outside, but he's going to try for the inside line. David Pouget says no chance. Are you getting the inside line? But Pouget locked up. David Pouget locked up, and Gabriele Torelli has managed to take the apex and the lead and the win. Gabriele Torelli at the very last chicane of the lap claims the win. Alessandro Brigatti taking 2nd place, a drag race across the line further back as well. But what a battle between Pouget and Brigatti. And now on my timing screen, Brigatti has been dropped back down, or rather we've had a drop down the order for one of the drivers. I'm not sure whom just yet. I think our race winner may have had a penalty. Or maybe his transponder isn't working. Here's what happened in the final bends of the lap then. Gabriele Torelli, yes, his transponder was the issue. So Gabriele Torelli did take the win with that definitive move at the final chicane. Momentarily, he didn't appear on my timing screen, much to my alarm, but he does indeed take the win with that decisive moment. David Pouget, when it counted, locked up the brakes, didn't get the car rotated for the first element of bus stop. And celebrations going on down in the podium area as Gabriele Torelli claims the win for Rangone Corsa. Torelli was having issues with his transponder during the race, which momentarily made me think he had a penalty. Thankfully, that's not the case. Gabriele Torelli takes the win from David Pouget. Alessandro Bugatti takes the Challenger class honours and third overall ahead of Anthony Gerardo. Thomas Picard in fifth position. Alexandra Finkelstein rounding out the Challenger podium and taking sixth overall ahead of Adrian Schiff, Alexandre Alboui, Nicolas Milan and Jerzy Spinkovics. 11th place, Pierre Bredot, Luca Franca, Florian Venturi in 13th, Nicola Milkovic and Mattia Lancilotti rounding out the top 15. Pierre Bredot also doing quite the job within the Challenger class there, fourth in the Challenger class. Meanwhile, the winner of the racer category was Luca Franca. He will claim that podium at the top. René Stiemetz and Stefan Polderman, the Dutch drivers, will round out the racer class podium within the overall classification. But of course, all of these drivers scoring points in different championships. Gabriele Torelli, though, with a lot to write home about after Saturday and celebrating as we get a look back now at some highlights of the race that was. Of course, we started in single file after the first lap was taken under safety car. And from the word go, Gabriele Torelli was doing a great job of maintaining the race lead. We had some fighting further back in the order as Mattia Lancilotti and co fought just outside the top 10. Then we had a moment for the number 42 car of Mariano Alonso. This was the trigger, though, or one of the triggers for the first safety car. Lots of gravel on the circuit. The 29 and the 105 cars colliding. Alexandra Finkelstein leaning on Alessandro Bugatti. And then into the barriers went the number 30 car, Alex Lancilotti. That was the bigger cause of our safety car period. The safety car came in with less than 5 minutes of racing left to go. Thomas Picard briefly got himself up into third place with that authoritative move on Alexandra Finkelstein, who would ultimately finish in 6th position. But David Pouget found a way into the lead on the final lap, and he lost it at the final braking zone. Gabriele Torelli said, okay then, I'll have my lead back. And after briefly losing the top of the timing screen in the first sector of the final lap, Gabriele Torelli took the win in magnificent style. The Italian driver will be delighted with that result. David Pouget, I'm sure he's not satisfied right now, but I think he'll be happy with second place once the dust has settled a little bit. And Alessandro Bugatti, given we saw him rally crossing at one point, I think he'll be more than chuffed with third place overall and the leading nod in the Challengers class. Well, Clio Cup always delivers. And certainly we have had a brilliantly exciting first of 2 races at Spa-Francorchamps. There is one more race to come in the afternoon on Sunday for the Clio Cup competitors, another 25-minute race That will also have a safety car first lap as opposed to a standing start as a practical measure, rather than doing a standing start with 60 cars with La Source waiting. It would be very difficult to police that start as well, given the sheer number of cars. We'd have to go quite a way back towards Blanchimont even to make sure that everyone had a starting position. So just as a practical measure, we are doing a single file rolling start after one lap under the safety car again on Sunday. But Gabriele Torelli further solidifying his championship charge as well here. Torelli would certainly love to be in the conversation as we get to the sharp end of the season later on in the year, and performances like that will do him every favour in the world. Torelli, still a relatively young man, I think that's fair to say, but has quite a bit of racing experience, quite a lot of experience as well in his years in Italian racing, a 5-time Italian champion. And certainly a driver who will, today at least, say that Spa is one of his favourite circuits after that result. Such a shame, though, for David Pouget. We saw that lock up into the final corner. He locked up a couple of times as well at Nogaro, the French Championship season opener. Does seem as though he struggles with that a little bit with this year's car. And Pouget has to accept second best on this occasion, but it was a fabulous duel after that safety car came in with Gabriele Torelli, and I'm sure they will resume where they left off come race 2 on Sunday. Anthony Gerardo in 4th place come the end of the race. Thomas Piccard dropped down to 5th position. So the number 1, the defending champion, will certainly have a lot to be buoyant about going into race 2. Gerardo working his way from 10th on the grid. He did a good job there. Nicolas Mêlant also did a good job to move up from 13th on the grid to P9. Adrian Schimpf made up some very good positions as well in the 113 car. He took 7th overall, of course, and 3rd within the Challenger class, just behind Alexandra Finkelstein. I believe
c'est parti pour la cérémonie protocolaire de cette première course de la Clio Cup Series.
So Gabriele Torelli should be up on the podium with David Pouget and Alessandro Bugatti momentarily. Sure enough, here they go. We were just starting to worry that maybe they'd gone to the old podium at the old pit lane rather than the F1 podium, but thankfully they found it. They're here, and it is Gabriele Torelli who takes the top step, and we will hear his national anthem, the Italian national anthem, in a few moments. Here we are, the Italian national anthem.
Félicitations à Gabriele Torelli pour la victoire. On va pouvoir remettre les trophées. Celui de la 3e place, c'est Jean Dubois, le race logistics manager du circuit de Spa-Francorchamps qui remet les
now
trophées.
being presented. Young Alessandro Bugatti will be happy with how he bounced back after the earlier dramas in the race, after that tag between himself and Alexandra Finkelstein. Of course, Bugatti came up in Euro NASCAR racing, among other championships, adapting very well to front-wheel drive. But our winner today, Gabriele Torelli, takes the top step of the podium. He, though, will resume battle with David Pouget tomorrow at Spa when we have race 2 at the weekend for the Clio Cup Series.